Hold on to your horses, it's about to get nerdy. If you've been listening by now, you should be pretty well versed in the origins as well as the basics of Cabernet Sauvignon. We've touched on a few things, but now we're going to go into a little more detail. According to Jancis Robinson, Cabernet Sauvignon is now the world's most renowned as well as most planted grape variety. The most recent stats say at about 340,000 hectares. That's about 4.5 times as big as New York. And to put that all into perspective, only 25,000 of those hectares are in Bordeaux. So what's the deal? Why is Cabernet Sauvignon so special? Number one, Cab has a very small berry in comparison to other cultivars, with a very high pip to pulp ratio. This increases tannins. Number two, Cab Sauv is pretty thick. No, for real. Cab Sauv skins are so thick that they look blue rather than the red. What's that? That's right, more tannins! The thicker the skins, the more tannins and depth of color you get. Numero 3. There's a lot of things out there preventing you from getting the perfect crop. A big plus point for Cabernet is that it has a relatively good resistance to rot. Why? Because of its thick skins. Education station. Generally speaking, thicker skinned grapes will have more of a resistance to disease because diseases, rot and other such things struggle to permeate through the thicker skins. Numero 4. I am running out of languages. Cabernet and oak are a match made in heaven. Oak has a softening effect on Cabernet, in addition to adding some incredible complexity and depth of aromas with vanilla and spices. These complement the natural grape flavors of blackcurrant as well as tobacco. But will it blend? That is the question. Cab's popularity started in Bordeaux, and because of Bordeaux's maritime climate, a good harvest could not be guaranteed every year. So what did producers do? They planted 4 additional cultivars there that each budded, ripened, and were harvested at separate times to hedge their bets. This move turned out in the producers' favors. What they did is they then blended these 5 cultivars together, Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, Malbec, Petit Verdot, and Merlot, to create what is now known as the classic Bordeaux blend. As with all things in life, Cab Sauv also has a flip side to all the positives. There are 1 or 2 slight drawbacks. Number 5, vigor. What is vigor? Vigor refers to the amount of growth of shoots, of leaves, of grapes for a particular grapevine over a season. Now, Cab Sauv is considered a vigorous cultivar. Sounds good, right? Generally speaking, not so much, for the following reasons. Vigorous may refer to a vine that has too much vegetal growth, leading to big canes, big leaves, and lots of lateral shoots. This may lead to a crowded canopy, meaning you are creating an environment with lots of shade that will slow down ripening and hindering airflow. This creates disease pressure in the vineyard because of humid conditions. So how do you combat this? As with all things in life, proper prior planning will prevent poor performance. Say that 5 times fast. Proper prior planning will prevent poor performance. Nutrient-poor soils will prevent too much vigor, as well as rootstock selection is vitally important. There are options out there of particular rootstocks that will take up less nutrients and will prevent vigor. And then, as with anything worth doing, it's worth doing properly. If you've done all of this, now the nitty-gritty starts. Then you have to work. Canopy management. Making sure the above doesn't happen, you now have to control the amount of lateral shoots in your canopies as well as cutting off extra leaves that will prevent that airflow and the sunlight from coming through. Okay, so if you're still around after all that hardball nerd stuff, kudos to you. Next up, we actually get to some fun parts, like how to identify Cab in a blind tasting. As in any blind tasting, there's an actual grid you should be working through in order to identify what's in your glass. But for the sake of being a bit more succinct, let's work on some bankers for Cab Sauv. Number 1, color. Take a look at this Oldenburg Vineyards Cabernet Sauvignon 2011. This is a 5-star Platter wine. Look at the deep color that this still has. Even though there's 10 years on this wine, there's only slight bricking with a very dark core. Why does it get that? Because of the small grapes and the thick skin. Banker. Aromas you may want to look out for are blackcurrant or cigar box. I sometimes interpret it as almost a licoricey, sweet tobacco spice-like flavor character. Oak is another big hint. In the past, Cabernet Sauvignon has often been made with 100% new oak. That led to big aromas of vanilla and toast. This is rapidly changing, so don't rely on it. New oak is being decreased more and more. Wines are becoming a very clear expression of terroir. And too much oak can potentially cover this up. Look out for grippy tannins. They often stick to your teeth in their youth, but over time they smooth out significantly. Even in age, they'll generally be a bit thicker than those of other cultivars. Medium to high acidity goes hand in hand with those tannins. For me, this is often how I tell the difference between a Merlot and a Cabernet Sauvignon. Generally speaking, I find that Merlots tend to have higher acidities than Cabs. One last thing, and it might be a little bit of a superstitious itch on my side, but sometimes I feel like I can feel Cabernet Sauvignon at the back of my throat, and this doesn't happen to me with other cultivars. Use it, don't use it, up to you. Either way, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed it. Cheers to you. See you soon. Bye.